Now with the NBA season coming to a close because of the recent hiatus, this hasn't stopped teams from shopping around players to see how they can improve moving forward. Bradley Beal began slowly taking over to the leader role on the Wizards with John Wall continuing to heal, but after lots of speculation about Beal's future in Washington over the last year, it's no surprise he's on the move. This is because people believe the Wizards should have a definite spot in the playoffs considering they have two stars and play in the East, but it hasn't been that easy. Beal is coming off arguably the best season he's ever had, so his value might be the highest it will ever be. With averages of 30 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists, he would be an asset on any team. Shipping Beal out would leave the Wizards with John Wall, hoping he can return to his old ways. But John's coming off a devastating Achilles injury and has now missed at least half of the team's regular season games in each of the past 3 years. The Wizards' choice to trade Beal would haunt them if Wall's significantly less than his former self. He's owed $132.9 million over the next 3 years, so they need him to be a star. The Pelicans seem to be the front runner for Bradley Beal, considering they pulled off a massive trade with the Lakers last season by using Anthony Davis for many assets in which they can use to lock down Beal. The Wizards are looking for Lonzo Ball, Jackson Hayes, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 3 first-round picks, and 2 seconds. This seems like a lot, because it is, but the Pelicans are facing a certain situation, and if they want to capitalize on Zion Williamson, then they need to make the move. With Donovan Mitchell taking the league by surprise and stepping up to superstar levels with his role in Utah, everything seemed like it was going fine with the Jazz until recently. During the coronavirus outbreak, reports revealed that Mitchell was frustrated with Gobert's careless behavior before he was aware that he had been infected with the virus. As of now, the Jazz are doing their best to fix the relationship between the two of their best players, but if they fail, they would be left with no choice but to trade one of them. With the Jazz having a record of 41-23 and Donovan Mitchell putting up 24 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists a game, it would be hard to get rid of him, but with his name floating around the trade market, many teams are going after him. The obvious front-runner for Donovan Mitchell is the Denver Nuggets, who oddly enough are the team that actually drafted him before sending him to Utah. In the proposed trade scenario, the Nuggets will be sending a trade package including Michael Porter Jr., a 2020 first-round pick, and a 2022 first-round pick to the Jazz in exchange for Mitchell. At first glance, some people may think that the Nuggets are giving up too many valuable trade assets to the Jazz, but it's only a reasonable asking price for a player of Mitchell's caliber. Although there are concerns about his impact on Denver's defense, many believe that pairing Mitchell with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic makes sense for the team as a whole. Adding Donovan Mitchell would also make the Nuggets one of the best offensive teams in the league next season. With Lonzo Ball making the transition from LA to New Orleans, he began to grow as a player and is now playing a bit better than he did in LA, but still not as good as everyone expected. Lonzo averaged 12 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists per game with the Pelicans, and with his name coming up a lot in trade talks, it seems very likely he leaves New Orleans. Although the Pelicans used Anthony Davis as a way of getting lots of players from the Lakers, it seems as if the Pelicans want to use those same players to shop around again. Despite Zion Williamson being hurt for an extended period of time, the Pelicans went 28-36, turning up in the second half when Zion was playing. The Pelicans know that having generational talent like Zion means that they have to go all in getting him the pieces he needs to bring a championship to New Orleans. The Knicks are struggling at the point guard position, and Lonzo could be a good addition to that group, but with the Knicks having aspirations of signing Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, they ended up with Julius Randle and still have all the young guys. The Knicks are a rebuilding team, and a trade for Lonzo gives them a solid person to build around. Trading off Frank Ntilikina and Reggie Bullock for Lonzo Ball is a move that would benefit both teams. For the Pelicans, they are getting a defensive-minded guard in Ntilikina and another trade asset in Bullock. For the Knicks, Ball could become the point guard of the future for their team, and Lonzo is playing in an offense that does not play to his strengths. So with the Knicks, they could give him more on-ball opportunities to showcase his talents. Also, Lonzo is another player that could grow with RJ Barrett, Kevin Knox, and Mitchell Robinson. With Chris Paul being traded from the Rockets to the Thunder last season, many people thought his career might be over, but Chris proved them otherwise and maintained his game on a new team. This year, Chris averaged 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists, all while leading the Thunder to a 40-24 record and a 5th seed in the playoffs. But despite him still proving to be the efficient point guard we've known him as, trade rumors have been circling his name for the last year regardless. There are a handful of teams in the league that could use a veteran scoring guard like Chris Paul, but the Lakers are the front runner in the situation, and with CP3's off-court relationship with LeBron, a move sending CP3 to LA makes complete sense. In terms of the Lakers, it's very straightforward what they get in Chris Paul. In this trade, the Thunder would get much more manageable players that they could either move their contracts or buy them out. Paul would fill the role that everyone wished Rondo could fill, and he would be a primary playmaker along with LeBron. This would be crucial because it would take a lot of the offensive responsibilities off of LeBron's back. On top of this, Paul is notorious for being one of the best pick-and-roll ball handlers in NBA history. Having the freak of nature that's Anthony Davis, it would be almost impossible to stop a pick and roll between the two. On the defensive side of the ball, adding Paul would do a lot for the Lakers defense. CP3 is a player that is notorious for being an on-ball pest, and especially during the playoffs, he would be someone who could lock up some of the best point guards in the league. With Chris Paul eager to finally make a statement in the playoffs and finally make the NBA Finals for the first time, putting him back in LA is the way to do so. The Lakers were already the top team in the West before the hiatus, and many felt they weren't playing to their potential just yet. So adding someone like Chris makes the team that much better, as he's already paired alongside superstars and complemented them well with the Clippers and Rockets over the last few years. With DeMar DeRozan trying to bring a championship back to San Antonio over the past few seasons, the Spurs have done much worse than expected, and now it's only a matter of time before DeRozan finds his way on a contending team. Although the Spurs are struggling, DeMar has been able to maintain a solid stat line, averaging 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. But the Spurs are sitting at the low end of the Western Conference with a record of 27-36. As odd as it sounds, the team looking at DeRozan the hardest is none other than the Toronto Raptors, who traded him away for Kawhi Leonard in the summer of 2018. As for the possibility of a Raptors reunion, a Western Conference executive told Frank Urbina that it sounds crazy, but Toronto actually makes a lot of sense as a landing spot for DeRozan. As far as what Toronto is giving up, it would probably have to be a first-round pick plus Serge Ibaka or Marc Gasol. Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan weren't able to make it happen in Toronto for many years, but with the additions of young players as well as Pascal Siakam, the Raptors know that if they were able to sign DeRozan, they could easily repeat. With Rudy Gobert being the sole big man in Utah for the past 7 seasons, winning multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards, his relationship with guard Donovan Mitchell has been starting to slip. The bond between them grew even further when Rudy Gobert was the first player in the NBA to get the coronavirus, and shortly after he got it, it was announced that Donovan Mitchell also had it. Despite the chemistry starting to fade between them, Rudy was able to still average 15 points, 13 rebounds, and 1 assist per game, which ultimately helped get the Jazz to a record of 41-23 and a 4th seed in the West. The Boston Celtics seem to be the main team looking at acquiring Rudy Gobert, as they have been deemed one of the smallest teams in the league with Daniel Theis as their starting big man. This deal would fix the Celtics center position with Gobert and Gordon Hayward, as they already established a nice pick and roll in Utah, and the two teams are currently built very much alike. One NBA insider even said his skill set fits perfectly with the current state of their roster, and would easily make themselves favorites to represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals next season. With Derrick Rose being able to come back despite numerous injuries just shows the fight and will he has in him to succeed in this league, but recently he's been dealing with trade rumors that might send him out of Detroit. With a record of 20-46, the Pistons are most definitely in rebuild mode, so making a big trade for Rose makes lots of sense. And with Rose averaging 18 points, 2 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, which are all numbers very similar to his career highs, Rose also isn't making too much this year that it would be impossible to construct a trade for him. Rose's contract is worth just north of $7 million this year, with a nearly $8 million team option for next season, so trading him wouldn't be hard. The Lakers seem to be the front runner for Rose due to the team needing a more traditional point guard, and Rose fits that spot. He would give the Lakers some playmaking and scoring punch, as well as a secondary ball handler to ease the burden of LeBron James in that area far more effectively than anyone else on the roster has to this point. And as much as Caruso has become a fan favorite, trading him for Rose is full of logic. Caruso is a valuable player for this team, but dealing for Rose potentially would solve the Lakers' biggest on-court issue. The 76ers have no doubt been a solid team in the East over the last few years, but many feel the team hasn't lived up to the potential. This has led to rumors surrounding their stars, and Ben Simmons is no stranger to this. It actually has raised a lot of headlines that Golden State is looking to trade their top pick of the 2020 NBA draft for another complimentary player, and Ben is one of the players on their radar. With the Warriors having a down year due to Kevin Durant departing in free agency and injuries suffered to Klay and Steph, it's only right rumors began circling their team as they sat at the bottom of the standings. And one player they've been interested in is Ben Simmons. Many have clowned Ben's jump shot ability and made memes about it over the past few years, which is something that would definitely have to change coming into the new season. But during the hiatus, Ben actually talked about his infamous jump shot, saying, "I know it's gonna come. It's a matter of me being comfortable doing it. Some of that is just getting the reps in. I can take a hook shot from the elbow because I've done it so many times. I'm confident it will go in. I could be one of those guys shooting 30% right now, but I'd rather be one of those guys shooting 40%. But Ben's all-around game could prove to be extremely efficient around so many stars like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Andrew Wiggins. Not only could it open up the opportunity for him to be at the top of the league in assists, he could also develop the shot he desperately wants to improve, while also having an easy way to the lane on dunk attempts because of such elite players near the three-point line." If you've enjoyed this video, then we're sure you'll enjoy the next one. Click on right now and enjoy.